Yay, I'm live. Remember to, as Nana says, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Yay. I am Jax West from Stephen Avery Project, MAM Gossip, and Justice with Jax on Facebook. We are live today to discuss. Oh, my mom is here, so I can begin. She's given me permission. Hi, Mom. We're going to talk about the murders at Starved Rock. There is a 3-episode documentary that is on HBO. Hello, Kat, and hello, Tanya. I haven't heard or seen you for a while, Tanya. Are you from that area? I know you're in Illinois, right, Tanya? My brother's keeper. That's my sexy girlfriend who got me this beautiful shirt. So I said I would wear it today on the live. So thank you, Miley. Ooh, Tanya, good. You know this case because I am completely new to it. When I started watching the documentary, I didn't even know it was from this area. You know, I saw it say Starved Rock, and I have been to the Starved Rock um, state park, but I just didn't pay attention. You know, I'm just looking for something new to watch. And so I started playing it, and I was like, holy cow, that happened here. And I've never heard it. So I watched the 3-episode documentary, and it affected me like Making a Murderer did the first time I watched that. And when I watched Making a Murderer, I didn't know anything on that case either because this documentary is on HBO. And so I think on HBO, they were doing the episodes one at a time. Or if you have HBO Max, I was able to binge all 3 episodes at one time. So HBO. But when I watched Making a Murderer, it was the weekend it had come out on Netflix, so I hadn't heard anything about that case. So I've got no opinion one way or another and don't know where it's going to go, you know, and I don't know the people, so I've got no preconceived opinions on anybody. So the same thing happened in this case. And then, just like with Making a Murderer, after I watched it, I had to start Googling and looking into it. And this past weekend, my husband and I went to Starved Rock, and we went to the place that the 3 victims were found. And Jeff videoed me there, and then I asked him to upload it here to the channel, but as far as I know, he hasn't as of yet. So I can't share that with you. But on our Facebook page, on the Justice with Jax Facebook page, I have posted the pictures I took. Jeff also took pictures of me there as well as the video, and I don't have access to any of that. Jeff's got it. Tanya, the documentary kind of goes both ways because the documentary has it. So the person who started making this, and this is many years, is the prosecutor's son. So he grew up thinking that, as he says in this documentary, of Chester, the person that they say is guilty of this crime. He calls Chester the boogeyman, and really felt like if by she's at the lovely Costco that makes the best pumpkin pie. You can fight me on it. Great pumpkin pie at Costco. So the guy, well, he's not a boy anymore. The guy grew up thinking that if Chester was ever to get released, he would come and kill the family because of his father putting him behind bars. So he then decides to look into the case a little more. And so when he's an adult. So this documentary kind of follows that as this guy is looking into this case, probably the biggest case his father ever tried. I've got some notes that I took when I originally watched the documentary. So it's been a week or so since I watched it. So now I'm going to refer to these to see where my notes are. That will remind me of things that I wanted to discuss about the documentary. All right. So okay, well, there's also notes on here for things that I wanted to know, like for because I knew I was going to be going there. So the bodies, the three women that were murdered were found in St. Louis Canyon in Starved Rock. And so Starved Rock is this huge state park. And so there is a parking area that is closer to St. Louis Canyon. So if you wanted to go, you need to park at the lot that's on Route 178. So it's a closer walk to get there. Um, so Chester was a guy that worked at this um the it this big state park has like a resort in it, and he worked in like the kitchen of the resort, and he was from the area, and so knew this area pretty well, these woods, and knew all these different paths and all that. So these three women from the Chicago area decided that they were going to drive to Starved Rock for a couple of days for just this girl's getaway. And this is 1960. Um, so they go there, and then they go for the hike, and one of their husbands had called the hotel trying to talk to his wife and couldn't get her. And so after a period of time, then he's then contacting people to, something's going on here. And a search team was put together, and very reminiscent also a lot of things that reminded me of Making a Murderer, where it is this big huge park, yet they found the victims, I believe, what was it, in 20 minutes? Isn't that like the same number from Making a Murderer? I'll see as I go through here. I have to go through my notes one at a time or I'm going to forget. um So the women were found in, like I said, the St. Louis Canyon, in this cave. And so the cave is up off the ground some. And two of the women they were stripped from the waist down. All three women were placed with their legs spread open, but they were beat to death with what they're saying is a frozen log. Um, Eventually, they zero in on this Chester Uyghur because of him living or working there at the resort. And they were also going off of, you know, total circumstantial things, that the women's hands were tied with this twine, and the twine is similar to what was in the kitchen. So they're saying this guy would have had access to it. And I'm not going to get fully into every teeny tiny little thing. I want you to watch the documentary for yourself. I want to go through my notes for the things that uh, um, I felt stood out to me and were important in the case. So when they take Chester in for questioning, they interrogated him for hours. They hooked him up to a lie detector test. And twice, two lie detector tests, Chester passed them both. Which for me, lie detector tests, I never care. I do not believe in them at all. I think anything can throw those things off, and they're you can't use them anyway. So I don't care if somebody is found truthful or not truthful. I don't believe in the things. But he was given lie detector test twice, pass them both times. And this so then they take him to Chicago to be interrogated by none other than John Reed. John Reed, the founder of the Reed technique. The Reed technique, for those who don't follow the Stephen Avery case, is what was used on Brendan Dassey to elicit a false confession. And cops for many years use this. I need to turn the sound off if I'm going to keep getting texted here. Police officers use this as their teaching tool on how to interrogate people. And so it's very specific on everything, on the size of the room, so you're put in a tiny room and you're not facing the door, and then there's also they're going to be in the way for you, so you wouldn't be able to just get up and leave. There there's a reason for everything, and that is not to get the truth from a person. It is to get you to just say what they want you to say, because all they care about is closing a case. They're not looking for justice. They are not looking for the truth. They just want to close a case. Period. End of story. Um, so there's Jeff asking me what my password is for this YouTube. So I guess he's gonna upload the videos. So when he is given the lie detector test by John Reed, then he is set. John Reed is like, here's your guy. So that off the bat for me is a big red flag. That it's the Reed technique that then made them go, this is the guy, from John Reed. That was huge when I was watching it and taking notes. They then take Chester to the scene where the women were found. And they're claiming that Chester was reenacting the crime. Well, Chester claims that he was told the reason he was being brought there is because he was from the area. He knew shortcuts and stuff. So he was there to basically like be their guide. He didn't know he was going there to um that they were going to claim that, oh, he's now showing us how he did this. And then they were doing everything, and Chester's just kind of standing around. So really sketchy on all of that. Here's my next note. Okay, Jeff. Jeff's gonna put it up after I'm live because I have to confirm something or whatever. Um, Prior to being hooked up to the lie detector, John Reed told Chester, just say yes to everything. Hello, Bryce. Just answer yes. But Chester refused. And then he was threatened with truth serum. I mean, they were just really trying to manipulate this guy with everything. He was told by one of his interrogators, one of the cops, that he needed to confess or he would get the electric chair. And then the cop even used the phrase that he would be riding a thunderbolt. And the cop denied it, but there was a second cop there at the time, and he confirmed that the one guy did say, if you don't confess, you will ride a thunderbolt. He was interrogated for 24 hours. You're going to say anything to get out of that situation. 24 hours. That's ridiculous. The state's attorney, when the state's attorney dies years later, and it's his daughter that's going through his office, she found stuff that her father had written, one of which, just like the Stephen Avery case, that said it's written on there on how to frame Chester for this crime, this alleged crime. And step by step, things to do to get him to falsely confess. And the other thing to know is this was an election year. And I know I've talked to y'all a lot about how important it is to vote in every election, in your primaries, every election, your municipals, not just when we're voting on president. And you have to vote. Flip that ballot over. Vote on the back. We need to be voting for the sheriffs, the coroners, the state's attorneys, the judges. Because now this guy's running and he needs this case to get him reelected. And right, Kat, and he lost. He still ended up losing. But you're not looking for truth and justice. You're doing whatever is going to get you the votes. So, they also used surveillance to intimidate Chester. So while they were investigating, they were constantly having him followed. They were doing anything and everything to intimidate him and he had a wife and 2 young children. And he wanted to protect his family. Then he's really has nothing real on his record. So they then try to make these phony things so they can then say, look at this guy. He, in 1959, so this case was 1960. In 1959, there were 2 cases in Matheson Park, which is next to Starved Rock. And what they did, because my next note is lineup. So for the victim, they do this lineup of who it is that assaulted you. Chester is 22. The rest of these men are old, balding, gray hair, look nothing like Chester. I mean, they totally set this guy up from start to finish. And I'm sorry, if you need to cheat to prove a case, then you got nothing. And then that also creates reasonable doubt. You ruin your case if you got to do these things that are proven are a lie, are so how can you then believe any of the evidence is real and not as fake as that lineup? Kat says the lineup was a freaking joke. Chester was 22 and the others were in their 40s. So, of course, the victim would pick out Chester. Huge red flag to me. Yeah, absolutely. He was told if he confessed, he would get life and be out in only 14 years. Chester also thought, like Marnie Yang, I didn't do this. I trust our legal system. So fine, I'm going to confess to get out of this hell they have me and my family in right now, and I'll be found not guilty at court. People, and again, 1960, people don't understand how hard it is once you falsely confess to back that up. Brendan Dassey, the only evidence they have on Brendan is his false confession. When Stephen Avery went to trial, there's no Brendan in Stephen's case. They're saying Stephen is the one and only person who committed that crime. Yet Brendan is in prison because he just said what they wanted him to say, thought he was going to go back to school. Chester's father asked for a lawyer for his son, and it was ignored. Then it was 3 women that were found murdered, but they only charged Chester with 1. Why did they do this? To protect themselves from double jeopardy. So if for some reason Chester was found not guilty, they could then try him again on another woman. So 1 crime had 3 victims, but they were going to charge him 3 separate times if they had to try and make this stick. There was a reward. The victim's husband's employers, plus a guy that ran the resort or whatever you call it at Starved Rock, came up with this reward for finding the person who did this. The state's attorney and the 2 cops ended up getting that reward. Excuse me, this is your job. So the state's attorney got $11,500 in 1960, and the 2 cops got $5,000 each. Why are they getting reward money? So doesn't that again go to show that they're just trying to close this case? That's a lot of freaking money for 1960. I mean, I'd be happy with $5,000 right now. That's crazy to me that people whose job is supposed to be solving these crimes are collecting the reward. They've contaminated all the evidence. Oh my God, Bryce says equals about $107,000 in today's numbers. So they took her clothing, or the three women's clothing, and this coat they have of Chester's, this suede coat, and put it together in a bag, commingled the evidence. Now, these women were murdered, but they were bludgeoned to death. Each woman was hit in the head over 100 times. 100 times each, not 100 times divided by the three of them. 100 times each. And there's like nothing on the coat, the suede coat, that's not easy to clean. They found a couple specks of blood on his coat, but it's not even sure what it is. He's somebody who regularly hunted, because he was also poor and grew up with, you hunted for your food. So how many times was he wearing that suede Davy Crockett looking coat with the fringe on it that you can't just wash and hang to dry? He's not going to a dry cleaner and paying to have his coat cleaned. That coat was probably never cleaned the entire time he owned it. So you would think, if you have bashed three women's heads in, there would be way more blood on a suede coat. And then their whole scenario of how Chester and why Chester killed these women. Because even though two of the women were stripped from the waist down, nobody was sexually assaulted. So they're saying that Chester came across these three women at one of the bridges. It's the second bridge. And Jeff and I took pictures and video of all of that area too. So he came across them at the second bridge, and one of the women had binoculars on a strap, and that he grabbed the strap, and so he's thinking it's a purse and going to rob them, and then the strap breaks. But now somehow, after doing that, he's able to get these women to walk down to this canyon from where that bridge is. I'm really bad with numbers. I don't know if Jeff is watching currently, where he can tell you how many about feet it was from the bridge to all the way over from where they're found. But these three women, Chester is an itty bitty guy. I think all three of these women were bigger than Chester. He is not armed. No gun, no knife. He's got nothing. So he's allegedly trying to rob these women, yet now they're going to walk down here. 80 yards, Jeff says. Thank you. Why are you going to go anywhere with this guy? Why wouldn't you go run, scatter, all three different directions? He can only get one of you. But yet they're going to walk down here with this guy. And then if he's beating one of them, because he can only beat one at a time, he's one little person, beating them with, he's tied, there's twine and he's tied their hands. You can still get up and run. Or hop away, even if your legs had whatever. He's hitting somebody 100 times. You're gonna flee. Fight or flight. You're gonna go. He's killing this one. We're gonna take off. It makes zero sense when you're saying he did this by himself, and then these women still have all their jewelry and everything. There's no robbery. People will claim that, well, he didn't know what to do with jewelry or whatever, so he's only looking for cash. But also, why is he going to hit each woman 100 times that he has no connection to? That's a crime of passion to hit over 100 times. Also, as I'm going back to my notes, everyone had access over all these years to the evidence in storage. They were allowing school groups, Boy Scout troops, whatever, on a field trip to not only look at the evidence in this case, they could pull it out, touch it. So I call bullshit on this when you try to say, oh, we can't test anything now because everything's been tampered with, then that should be the state's fault. And the person is now innocent and free because you screwed up this case. And absolutely, Kat, one of these cops that collected $5,000 took that frozen log home that they claim is the murder weapon and had it on their mantle. Remind you of Jean Couché, who framed his picture of his framing of Stephen Avery? How do you do that? How do you bring this evidence home? And dun dun dun, dun this is, yeah, look at this. Killed 3 women. So the prosecution had rape for the motive at first, and there's no rape. Chester says, so Chester over the years has changed his alibi. He had said at one point that he was downstairs in the basement of the resort writing some letter. But now he talks about that he had gone to get his haircut. And Chester did not have a driver's license. So he walked or rode a bike or got rides from somebody. So a friend had given him a ride to go get his haircut. Now, he had been told that barber was dead. So he thought he wasn't going to have that barber to back up his story, which the barber was not dead. And the barber does say Chester absolutely was there. And then the guy that drove him told Chester, I'm not going to cooperate. So that's why he didn't bother with that story, because he felt, or not the story, with what actually he was doing that day, his actual alibi, because he thought there'd be no proof to it and that would make him look worse. One page down. So Chester would, when was it? The first one, was it 1970? Was the first year he was up for parole. And this is something that always bothers me too, where typically they say that you cannot be released on parole until you admit that you did this crime and say you're sorry for it. But there are so many people who are in prison for something they didn't do. So I don't want somebody to lie. I don't want you. What does that do for the victim's family, for society, for somebody to just go, yep, I did it. Now I get to go home. I want to know who really did it, and that person should be punished for it. So I don't want somebody like Chester, who is consistently the entire time say he's innocent, just to get out to go, yeah, I did it. And so it makes me even more believe in his innocence, that he refused to lie and say he did it and say he's sorry just so he'd be released. But finally, in August of 2020, he they were able, let's see, what's my notes? They, in August 2020, they asked the judge, the court, to do DNA testing. Two of the women have hair in their hands. And that hair had been tested against Chester, and it's not his, and it's not the victim's. So we need that hair tested. Um, some of the evidence is gone. So you've got clothing of two of the women are gone. The murder weapon that we already talked about was on the one cop's mantle. Besides the hair that was found in the women's hands or gloves, they also found some cigarette butts. That's still in evidence. Chester was finally paroled, but in the eyes of the law, he's guilty. He served his time and he's out on parole. He wasn't released on a wrongful conviction. Chester, who's, how old is he now? 90 something? Is he 90? He wants his conviction overturned. There are people that say it's his family wants the money. Oh, please. I mean, don't get me wrong. Take that money. That family is owed it for what they've lived with. The man just wants the record to reflect that he is innocent. And so people think 82. Thank you, Kat. He's hanging on because he just wants to prove his innocence. And so February 8th, Tanya, is when Chester's next hearing is scheduled for, when we should be learning the results of the hair testing. That I'm going to attempt to go to that hearing if I can. I don't know if, now that we're going in another big COVID thing on, what the situation will be like on February 8th, if I'd be able to get in, but I am hoping to go and see that for myself. Chester's case, something important to know. I don't remember who his lawyer is, Tanya, but he's in the documentary. Who his current one is. They show a couple of the attorneys that he's had over the years. Chester's case in 1960 happened before Brady and Miranda were on the books. So they were able to completely lie and hide evidence from the defense because there was no Brady then. Kat, the guy who wrote the book on the case, and he's in the documentary, I really don't like that guy. Steve something. He just seemed like a little kiss ass to law enforcement. And somebody who would never think that law enforcement would ever do anything wrong and would never lie. Another theory they have is that the mob is somehow involved in this, that the women's husbands where they work, the one guy was having an affair too or something, blah blah blah. And so they talk about the possibility of this being a mob hit on the women. And there was something about red fibers that were found. And so something they talk about is that the women were tied up and was um lowered down and then swung into that cave. That seems really weird to me. And I don't I don't believe that. And I haven't quite um looked into that because I just don't find that plausible at all. Oh, and something else they say is that because it makes no sense on why these women are then picked up and put into this cave where, the cave isn't ground level, the entrance. You have to climb up. Now, for me, a fat old lady with a back condition, it was really hard for me to get up in that cave. Chester, an itty bitty thing, in 22, not 50. Um, but carrying three dead bodies, literal dead weight, and picking up these bodies and putting them in the cave. Now, I know Jeff said he finds it possible that somebody would be able to do this by themselves to pick up these dead bodies and put them in the cave. What is the reason for putting them in the cave? And so, what the prosecution claims is in that state park at that time, there was an island um, there was a little airfield or whatever that was on that island. And so that a plane had flown over the area at that exact time this crime was happening. So that he wanted to hide the bodies from the possibility of the plane seeing it. How long do you think it's going to take one person alone to drag three dead bodies of women bigger than you are and lifting them up to shoulder height and putting them up in this cave? How long is it going to take? Now, in the video that Jeff took that day, and I couldn't do a Facebook Live because I'm in Facebook jail, that they're punishing me for a meme I posted a year ago. They're punishing me now, and my punishment is I can't go live for a month. So Jeff just videoed stuff on his phone. So, so we're showing the whole area on that in the span. The plane's flying, the plane's just flying completely over. It's not like a helicopter that's hovering or whatever. It would take way more time to try and move these bodies and um and that would get the attention of a plane. Somebody driving a plane is somebody dragging stuff around, as opposed to, so this crime occurred in March where, so there's going to be leaves and stuff all over, and the women aren't wearing any bright colors or anything like that. So just people laying on the ground, somebody flying a plane's not necessarily going to pay any attention to that at all. But somebody having a body on their shoulder to throw up into a cave that's off, that the entrance is, off the ground, shoulder height, that just makes absolutely no sense to me on why you would do that. And very interesting, when we were there was a man taking pictures because it's right by waterfall. Starved Rock is really beautiful. And he's somebody that isn't from Illinois. And it was recommended from a friend of his to go to this park and to take pictures there. And so I was doing this video with Jeff. And so I was talking about the case. And so then the guy said, "Hey, I, overheard you. Do you know some history? What are you talking about?" So in talking to him, he said that his friend is from the area and that the friend's father used to fly a plane from that island. And that he said he was questioned by the police and they told him to say that he saw the crime. And the guy didn't do it. And the guy I was talking to hasn't seen the documentary and didn't really know anything about it. He was going to go and watch it now, since he was there. And then I saw it moved away from the cave. Then he went over by the cave and was taking pictures of it and such. But so just another one of just say this. that you saw this. So it makes zero sense to me on why. Well, and also, where did the crime actually occur? They're saying over by that second bridge that there was items from the women found there. So now, did something were they assaulted at the bridge? Or is it the story too that he assaulted them at the bridge but then gets them to walk down here? Oh, okay. Sorry. Somebody emailed me something that I'm going to have to do. Um it just None of this is common sense and none of it adds up to me. So, in my non-educated opinion, I feel that Chester is innocent. They try to make him look like um there so there's something about when Chester was younger, and I can't remember the story completely. Maybe one of you will remember. And so the girl, his sister was walking home from school with another girl, or the girl got assaulted in the woods, was raped in the woods. And then Chester, like, then walked the girl home. Oh, the kids used to sing songs about Chester. Um, So they're trying to pin that on Chester. So they'll state as fact when he was a child, he raped a child, but he was never charged. It's never nothing. It's just you're saying it happened. And then something else they used is Chester had a nickname of Rocky. And then he had the Rocky tattooed on his arm. And at the state park, it's one of his Jeff's favorite things is all the graffiti. The assholes that either paint or carve their names or whatever into, this beautiful natural historic places. Um, the name Rocky was written somewhere there. But it's this guy grew up at this park. There were 3 houses on the property of the park, and I seem to remember that Chester at one point lived in one of them. Um, so him being somebody who was regularly at that park and young kids being idiots and writing their names on cave walls. So just because it says Rocky somewhere doesn't mean he did something to these 3 women. Kat says when Chester was younger, there was a girl who got raped in the woods and Chester helped her home and he got arrested for rape. Tanya says, I'm going to have to reach out to see who I know that knows the case personally. Any information, Tanya, you come across, please, share it, because I am like Making a Murderer. I am now obsessed because I believe this guy was wrongfully accused and convicted. He became the oldest, longest person incarcerated in Illinois. They stole his entire life from him. Loved his wife. He eventually told his wife, you got to move on with your life. And they got divorced so she could continue on, but she didn't want to leave Chester. She's passed on, died of cancer. Oh, you stole everything from this man. And okay, Tanya says it happened before I was born, but everyone local knows the case. I first learned the case when I was in high school, and I believe Chester was up for parole, and my teacher was going to be speaking at. So Chester's son has had his own issues with the law. And Tanya, I don't know if you know any of the background on that you might know more than what is in the documentary. But so his son has been in and out of prison. And actually, for a period of time was in the same prison as his dad, and they got to spend some time. But due to whatever crimes all that the son has done, he is listed on the sexual predator list. Oh, wow. The teacher was one about the connection of the twine in the kitchen. And then it's just going, so, but why? And and they were claiming that Chester just happened to have the twine in his pocket. And they were saying something about like he carried it around do cat's cradle for his kids or something. I don't know. They were really reaching. Um, but so due to Chester's son being on the sex offender, having to register as a sex offender for whatever his crimes are, Chester, they make him register as a sex offender. So he and his son, even though Chester is out of prison, they can't have any contact. And then when Chester was released, they first put him in a halfway home, is easing him into society. And then COVID hit. And he's an older man. And so now he had to stay quarantined at home. So he was free. He wasn't in prison, but not really free. And he can't see his son because they make them both register as sex offenders. And I don't know the full thing of what Chester's son has done, whether or not he is guilty or not. And then there's going to be the whole, did his son only do the things he did because of now the childhood he has with his dad being the neighborhood, um, your dad's the boogeyman? Because Tanya already said that, they sang songs about Chester. What must his children had to live with? Bullied and tormented. It still doesn't mean whatever the son did that it's okay for you to commit those crimes. But just going, maybe you can empathize with, the guy not turning out the greatest for what he had to endure. So yeah, Tanya, we're waiting for now the DNA results on that hair that we are supposed to hear on February 8th. So, and I'm sure it will be in the news as well. And I will try to go. I do feel that Chester is innocent. Who's actually guilty? I don't know. Kat brought up already the what's his name? George Spiros. So the Spiros family is the one that was running the resort at that time, and they lived at a house on the property. What is this thing that the spam person that somebody keeps posting? Um and so the boss's son looks pretty guilty to me. I I do not think this could be a one person crime. So I know there's people who think that Chester's guilty, but there's somebody else. So there's either the guy that he has as his alibi that drove him to the barber shop. What was that guy's name? Sonny something? Was that his name? Um, I don't think Chester's involved in any way. And I can't really fully speculate on who did it because there's just to me not enough evidence that we've seen to that I'm really gonna point the Kenny. Yeah, I think that sounds better. um So I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to speculate like that on who actually did it. I want to know what happens with this hair. But I'm also, DNA is scary. It depends who's doing that testing. I know I keep always going back to the Stephen Avery case, but look at Sherry Colhane, the big hair, who she's just going to make the results fit what the state wants. So, that's why you need independent testing done. But we already know that hair is not Chester's and it's not the victim's. Why would this hair be in two of the women's hands? Kat says that she's not speculating either. Chester did not have dogs, but George did. So George had, I can't remember what kind of dog it was that he used for, he used that dog to intimidate people. And there were dog prints in the snow. And so it is believed that George could have used his dog to contain those women. So when you go, why didn't these women run? Because there was a dog right there that they're afraid of. Now, I think, again, that fight or flight, you're going to die, could kick in. And if you run, the dog could get you, but the dog can only go after one of you. So, I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to fight for my life. So this was a dog that scared many people. Oh, and this George dude, now years later, when the case is being looked back into with this evidence and everything, all of a sudden, George kills himself and his dog. Allegedly kills himself. He had just gone grocery shopping and, so the house is fully stocked with food and all this stuff. And he's alone. It's not like he had a whole family, that shopping for food for the house. So as things are kind of coming together in this case, showing Chester's innocence, all of a sudden this guy ends up mysteriously dead. And his dog. Kat says the author guy said he did it to end his suffering because he was sick. Right. But I think I saw somewhere else that the guy wasn't that sick yet. I don't know. Just things aren't right here. And I think Chester was robbed of his life. So we will keep you updated on any developments that happen in this case. And Tanya, anything you can share with us, please either post it on Justice with Jax or you can message it to me and I'll get it posted if you learn anything of interest. And this documentary is, I believe, what is it called? Murders at Starved Rock. It's 3 episodes on HBO. Right, Kat? I think 2 people are involved. Chester's not one of them. So, recommend checking out that Murders at Starved Rock on HBO. Then I also posted on the Justice with Jax Facebook page You could just Google it too. There was an article in the Chicago Reader that went through a whole like timeline of the event, of the case, and it was long. And so I recommend finding that Chicago Reader article and reading that too. Thank you, Tanya. So, as we're coming to a close for this live video, next week, because I'm trying to do live videos every one Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time, my time. So, next week, we're going to cover the West Memphis 3. It is recently in the news now that evidence that the state said was missing has been found in their custody all along, and a guy was just fired. So, Adam Brazil, is that who you're talking about, Tanya? Um, 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 um. So West Memphis 3 has 3 episodes. What is for wrongful convictions stuff now, Tanya? Is that what he's meeting with Kathleen for? Because he's now officially innocent, right? He Adam Brazil has been claimed full, he's got his full exoneration now. It's not a case that I follow that closely, but I know it's something that Tanya is very involved in that case. Officially exonerated. That's awesome. So there's a Facebook page. There's tons of information you can look up by the governor. That's great, Tanya. On the Adam Brazil is Braseel, right? Did I spell that correctly, Tanya? Adam Brazil. Am I saying that right? I might be saying that wrong too. So maybe one of the episodes we'll do, Tanya, we can cover his case. I've never done a deep dive on that one. So, and there's a movie, right? David has been making a movie on his case. Is that coming out anytime soon? Do you know, Tanya? Because that would be the time that I would really like to discuss it, and then maybe have Fear the Hills on Facebook. Okay, and that's what the documentary is going to be called too, right? Fear the Hills. So yeah, I would talk to Tanya, David, one of the moderators from Stephen Avery Project, Michael Ryan. They're all the experts on this case, and Tanya and David Sale, have been the ones that have been working so hard to get this guy freed and overturn his conviction. So, major props to them for freeing this guy, but so for next week we'll do the West Memphis 3, the 3-part documentary series that is also on HBO. It is called Paradise Lost, and the 3 episodes on there are from many years apart when they were updating the case. So if you haven't watched Paradise Lost before, watch it in the next week. If you have watched it before, watch it again. I think I've watched Paradise Lost probably 4 times. But I plan before we go live next Wednesday to watch it again, and I'll do just like I did with this, is I'll take some notes to try and keep me on some things that I want to say about that case. Those 3 boys that were wrongfully convicted and are still, in the eyes of the law, guilty because they took the Alford plea. Those 3 boys were wrongfully convicted, and they tried to kill one of them. And so it's a case that really upset me. And how I first learned of that case, since when that was happening, internet wasn't like how it is now. It was People Magazine. That's where I first heard of that case. You've met Jason Baldwin? Oh, Jason, that is, I'm not going to talk about it now, but, because I'll be here forever. But Jason saving Damien's life makes me cry in that documentary every time. So to my mom, if you're still watching this, I know she has scammed my sister's HBO so she could watch this one. So mom, you need to watch all 3 episodes of Paradise Lost, because I'm assuming she hasn't watched that before. So she can know what I'm talking about next week. So, and then the week after that, I think we're going to cover the Stephen Avery case. You can go into the archives here on YouTube, as well as if you go to Stephen Avery Project on Facebook. We've been covering this case forever. But the thing that we always deal with on Stephen Avery Project is every winter break, so many more thousands of people watch Making a Murderer for the very first time. And then they come to Stephen Avery Project posting a bunch of questions, or a lot of times they message us the questions. So so next week should be West Memphis 3, and then the week after that we'll cover, well, I'll call it Making a Murderer, because we'll also talk about Brendan. It's not just a Stephen Avery case. So we'll get into that one all over again. And then always give me suggestions on cases you would like us to talk about. I kind of, as cases happen, that I see something, I'm like, I want to talk about that. I'm going to do it here, Bryce. From now on, all live videos are going to be over here on YouTube. I don't know how long I'm going to be in Facebook jail that they won't let me do the lives. And it seems every time I try to do Facebook Live, I have bad service. My internet is bad, and so sometimes I'm lagging, or some people can comment and some people can't. But then I also notice, like, if I do a live on our Facebook Stephen Avery Project, I have thousands of people who watch it. But here on YouTube, meh, it's just a teeny tiny little bit. I know I'm not as professional as all these people who have been doing these YouTube videos forever, that have videos and all this stuff. And here I am, just this person talking to the camera with no special effects and all of that. Okay, mom, good. Don't try and watch Paradise Lost. You're going to watch Paradise Lost, all 3 episodes in order. Oh, it's okay. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe I would do a live on Stephen Avery Project just to tease for them to come over here to watch over here, and then we're also trying to get people to make sure you do the thumbs up and you subscribe, because I guess it's like important for me to get 1,000 subscribers that my husband likes to torment me with, that he's got all his, way more subscribers than I have. So he's making it a competition. So subscribe to this, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. I just like to talk. Bryce says, I'm just thinking the video might get more views on Stephen Avery Project, and then if you get over to YouTube on, right. Jeff, don't be jealous. Oh, and I made this post on the Justice with Jack's Facebook page, but Melissa Kaluzinski, who, I can never talk about anything without talking about Melissa. But so Melissa had asked me to get her some books, some kid books that had, cartoon characters of Christmas stuff, because the prison was doing a Toys for Tots thing. And so then they wanted inmates to draw stuff for that would be decorating for the Toys for Tots, up on the walls and all this stuff. And so when I visited Melissa a couple weeks ago, because I'm only allowed to bring in 3 books when I visit, I brought her 3. And then you can also order stuff on Amazon for inmates and have Amazon send it directly to the prison. So then I also ordered 3 from there and sent it to her. My mom telling my husband to shut up. Um, 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 so I visited her a couple weeks ago, brought her books. I had Amazon send her 3 books. I talked to her the day before yesterday, and she told me today, Wednesday, I guess the prison, Jeff threatening my mom now. The prison is judging the drawings. I don't know if there's any kind of prize or anything like that, but so Melissa will be finding out today. And when she gave me this big long list too of all these things she drew. So I just think it's cool because it's something for Melissa to look forward to. So I'm hoping that y- she gets acknowledged for the drawing she did. And then she asked me, and if any of you want to do this for Melissa, you can. Because Melissa she rarely asks me for anything, for money, for whatever. And talking to her the other day, um, because they're screwing them over in commissary too. So like right now, there's no laundry detergent. Because see, when you're in prison, you don't just get your clothes washed. You have to pay. You have to buy your own laundry detergent and everything and do your own laundry. So there's no laundry detergent. And so they're out and don't know when they're going to get any more for the inmates. Now, Melissa says she still has a bottle left because every time, because they can do commissary shopping only, I think it's once a month. She always buys laundry detergent just in planning. She's just smart that way. So she still has some, but so when it's things like that where I'm like, you want money in your commissary, you need some laundry detergent, and she's like, no, I'm okay. But I guess next year's Toys for Tots theme at the prison is going to be the Grinch. So she asked me when Christmas is over, she was thinking that the Grinch books will be on sale or on clearance, which is so sweet. She's thinking of that to try and save money. If I would get her some Grinch books, she's like, I know I won't be here next year, but she would still want to, so Melissa thinking positive, that you're always going to get out just around the corner, that she would like to draw some Grinch stuff for the Toys for Tots at the prison. And something you need to know. So yeah, Bryce, because Bryce lives down by the prison. So like when I just went this last time, I met him and we went to breakfast before my visit. And now this time I scheduled my visit to be the early one. So we'll do lunch after my visit. Oh, wait, you would have to meet me before I go in. Um, um, the books have to be paperback. Oh no, she can get hardcover. Because I got her a hardcover book once. Because there's a talk that the prison she's in is haunted, and Melissa's really into that. So she wanted. There's this book on the history of the prison, and so I was able to send her that hardcover. Tanya is asking for a quick status update on Melissa. So Tanya, it will be in the archives on this page that I did just recently. I think it was it just last week that we did the Melissa one, or no, a week before that, whenever right after I visited her. But Melissa is just in that circle of she was supposed to be getting a court date, and then COVID hit, and so it's that constant watch. Will she get into court? Because there's so much evidence on Melissa's case to show that she is innocent. And then also, I just learned, Tanya, I don't know if you know this or if anybody knows this actually. Um, Kathleen Zellner moved out of Illinois. She doesn't live here anymore. And I was just told where she moved to, but I'm not going to say that. I don't know if that's something that should be kept secret. But she left Illinois. So I don't know if her office here in Downers Grove, that's right by me, if that still is there. Somebody told me they heard that that office was closed. I don't know. So, um, yeah, Tanya. So Kathleen used to live in Wheaton, which is near me, and she sold her house, and that's the house she's lived in for 20 something years, I believe. She sold in the spring. I believe it, and it made news, because it was local lawyer's house sold for million something, blah blah blah. Um, but now somebody had reached out to me, and they're like, "Did you know that Kathleen moved out of the state?" And I was like, "What?" And then somebody told me where they moved to. So, COVID's fault. Mm-hmm. Um, so I am going to visit Melissa next, as Bryce said, on the 3rd. On Monday the 3rd. I'm thinking maybe by scheduling it that day, people might not still be back to work. So maybe my drive will be even easier. So that's why I scheduled it for that day. I go to visit Melissa once a month currently. I used to go every other week before COVID, but now I'm just doing once a month. And her parents are going this Saturday, which is awesome that um they get to see her on Christmas. Melissa's mom works a full-time job, and so she can only go on the weekends, and so Christmas falling on a Saturday. So that should be, a great visit. I'm so excited. And Melissa just got a haircut and she loves it. And so her parents are going to be able to see her new haircut. And so she's excited to show her parents her new hair. Um so but Melissa Kaluzinski is completely innocent. Something, Tanya, that you might find interesting on the Melissa Kaluzinski case, something I talked about in the last video, but I flipped the fuck out, is that the Judge Shanes, in toss my hair back. I just had Jeff cut off my hair this morning. Um, um, so Judge Shanes, corrupt judge in Melissa's case, who is quite buddy with George Filenko, who was the lead investigator in Melissa's case, who was part of the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force, which is a known corrupt entity. Well, Judge Shanes is running for Illinois Supreme Court. And when he did his announcement in September, and it's for Lake County, Tanya, for the Lake County area, when he, hi Justin, my nephew, when Judge Shanes announced that he was running for judge, George Filenko was right there supporting his fellow corrupt legal person. And so then Melissa's dad sent me this link that I never would have come across on my own. It's a Republican website where the guy who was the Lake County sheriff at the time of Melissa's case, Mark Curran, and he was also on the board at that time of the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force. He is also running for that same seat on the Illinois Supreme Court. So he wrote an op-ed to talk shit about Judge Shaines. And the last two paragraphs, and this is posted on Justice with Jack somewhere, he talks about Melissa's case, saying that they know she was innocent. I went through the roof. That Melissa has been in prison for 13 years. And y'all don't do dick. And now that you're running against each other for an Illinois Supreme Court judge, you're going to bring up her case, which is a famous case, and try and do the she's innocent and judge knew it, sentenced her to how many years did Melissa get? 31 years, I want to say. So first thing I did is I sent the link to the current Lake County State's Attorney, who is not the person who has kept Melissa there, wanting them to be aware of it. These two people are running as Republicans. So I sent it to the chair of the Lake County Democrats to say, here's what these two people who are running for judge in your area are saying about each other. And then I sent it to the state senator. Because my claws come out if you're going to try and use Melissa for your political gain. Now, while I'm a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Anybody who's going to try and use Melissa, I'm going to come after you. And so for this guy who was the sheriff to say Melissa is innocent and y'all just sit on it. So we'll see if anything comes of that. And now I've gone 21 minutes over since I tried to keep these videos only an hour because I've been going on my now rant about Melissa. So let me close this out. And y'all got your homework assignment for next week that we're going to do the West Memphis 3, Paradise Lost on HBO. Watch it. And then the week after that, we'll do Stephen Avery. Tanya says, correct, Tanya. I agree with you there. Good, Kat. So I'm wishing you all whatever you celebrate. I hope everybody has a good week until we speak again. That you stay safe, protect yourself and your loved ones, and don't talk to the police without a lawyer present. And a good lawyer. Not if you can't afford one will be appointed for you and you get Len Kaczynski who's going to meow at you. Don't talk to cops. And nope. But here you go, Kat. Let's laugh out. Guessing is not confessing. Brendan guessed. Monster. All right, I'm going. Oh, and I guess Christopher My moderator would want me to mention we've got the Justice with Jack's Etsy store where we've got all these stickers I've shown you a bazillion times, and we knocked money off for December. And Christopher's the one that handles all that, and so it goes back up to its regular price after the 24th. So meow meow cat. Um, so if you want any of these stickers, guessing is not confessing. Let's slap Barb. Don't get strange. Free Brendan Dassey. This one, and I say this every time, we can't really read the Justice for Melissa on this butterfly. Just a plain Justice with Jax like you have in the background there. The Justice with Jax vagina bat. Free Stephen Avery. We all live on Avery Road. So all those stickers are on the Justice with Jax Etsy store. All right. Have I covered everything? I think I have. So happy holidays. Feliz Navidad. See you next Wednesday at 1 for the Paradise Lost case. Yep. Lock me up, cat. No, thank you. No meow meow guy. Investigation continues. Happy holidays.